Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that shaped how they see life, offering you daily reminders that wisdom lives all around us. Today's guest is Kristof Morrow, a Navy veteran, best-selling author, and award-winning journalist who writes with Tourette. He's someone who understands that our deepest struggles often become the wellspring for our meaningful work, transforming personal battles into stories that help others feel less alone. Let's step into Christoph's world for a few minutes and hear the words that have guided him through it all. Can you tell us your name and what you do?
Good morning. I'm Kristof Morrow, and I'm an author and a bunch of other stuff. Mostly an author.
Okay, yeah, thank you for accepting our invitation to be on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. You're very kind.
Yeah, what's your favorite quote?
Well, my Shakespeare. I have Tourette's, by the way, for people that don't know this. Shakespeare. My favorite quote um is probably what I actually wrote to you about Steinbeck. He said that about how his whole mission as a writer is to help people understand one another. Um, and that something I wrote actually, justice and redemption are folly, but to seek them is not.
Justice and redemption. Ooh, man, that's what we call
Mm.
double explosives. Let's take the first one first.
Mm-hmm.
Let's digest that first one. Then if there's time, we'll go on to the second one. The first one you said is to help people understand one another. What does that mean?
Um, I think we often try to impart understanding to one another, but I think we fail to do that. I think that I think that fiction and literature and even nonfiction, truly, uh, art itself does an incredible job, an extraordinary job of helping us to realize the similarities between us, and it humanizes everyone that's involved in it. Like between the characters and the author itself, uh, and um, and the person that's reading it, everyone becomes more human and better. It's the it We discuss the similarities between us in art. I think that's what we're doing at every given moment. We are uh, elaborating on our understanding of it, of human nature, every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you say, the thing is, when you said, my mission is to help people understand one another, right? At first,
Mm-hmm.
all the words that you use, they're completely simple words, right? I understand every word, but then I'm like, wait, what does it mean when you say to help people understand one another? So I want us to step back, right? What is one piece of artwork that has really and deeply resonated with you that you feel has helped, that you feel that the author achieved that goal of helping us understand one another?
Oh my goodness. So many works
Okay.
actually. Uh, I would say John Steinbeck's East of Eden, of course. I
Oh,
would say For Whom the Bell Tolls by Hemingway. I would say Dickens's Oliver Twist, which I thought is an
yeah,
extraordinary work.
classic. Oh,
Yeah. Um,
oh, oh,
yeah.
Oliver Twist. When I read the work, I didn't understand any of the what's the word, the setting and all that, but the story, Oliver Twist, Oliver asked for more. It's just one of those things that I still remember till today. And so even in conversations, I'm like, I'm going to be like Oliver and I'm going to ask for more. Yeah, yeah. Well, later on in when you filled the form, you did say that the takeaway you want my listeners to take from the episode is to understand that trust and understanding are the same, right? And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I'm having these light bulbs popping in my head, and I'm like, wait, what does that mean? And I'm like, I'm glad that he's going to be a guest on my podcast. I would have him clarify what that means. What does it mean, trust and understanding? What? Because just like it doesn't even sound like the same. Like comprehension, I could say, yeah, they're the same, but now you're like trust. Now you're like understanding. Help me make sense of it.
Well, one necessitates the other, doesn't it? When you have trust, that means that you have understanding. And then when you have understanding, you have trust. Uh, when you have an understanding, it means that you trust what the other person is saying to be true, or to be in part, to be a necessary part of understanding what they mean. Um, I think that trust and understanding, being the same thing, is meant to describe the relationship that we have with one another. Yeah.
Oh, trust and understanding. So when we trust people, it's easier to understand them. And when we
Mm-hmm.
understand people, it is based on the assumption that we already trust them in the first place.
Mm.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join, or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation. I want us to move on to the next, before we even move on to the next quote. You said your mission is to help people understand one another as a writer. I know it's been a long time since you come to the realization of that mission. How's the mission going?
Well, I feel it's going very well. The the people that read my work, uh, uh, describe it in very flattering terms, I think. So I think in that
What's
sense, it does.
Okay. Now I'm going to do something. What are the exact words they use? So we really understand if these are coming from people who understand one another, or these are people who just, they love the work, and they're like, yeah, that's a great work, but they don't really understand one another.
Hmm. Well, I know that, for example, someone wrote me to tell me that their literature professor that teaches Charles Dickens uses my book to teach Dickens as
Oh,
recommended reading in
oh,
a college course. They compare it. They compare my work to a bunch of other famous writers like James Joyce. It's a long list actually. Homer, the Iliad, the Odyssey, that sort of thing. It's very flattering. I'm not sure. They're being very generous.
uh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
yeah. Would you be kind enough to tell us a little bit about this work, what you're talking about?
Well, the Second Son, volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4 is what I've written so far and published. Uh, volumes 1 and 2, uh, volumes 1 and 2 is the beginning. Obviously, it's an epic fantasy with hundreds of characters, and there's three distinct storylines that shatter, and then you see how some of them converge, and you understand how these storylines are connected as the story goes on. But it's about climate change, it's about empire, it's about slavery, it's about there's pirates, there's giants, it's pretty comprehensive, I think, in a sense. I tried to cover just about everything in terms of philosophically. It's really hard to it's really funny because I've never come up with a satisfying summary for it, but but I have one on Amazon. I have one on Amazon that's much better than my elevator pitch.
See, I never came up with a summary, but I have one on Amazon. So right now I'm wondering, what is that one on Amazon called? Is it not a summary? Yeah, yeah, I get it. When I asked you about the work, I wasn't expecting a summary because I don't like when authors give spoilers of their work. I'm like, no, why would you do that? Instead, I was asking,
Mm-hmm.
how people like say, what's the word? When Steve Jobs, he will present the app, any of those devices that he will launch, and it's like, this device, this is it. This is the kind of the elevator pitch, right? He wasn't going to start summarizing that, oh, it was constructed with this and all that, and then all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm like, this book is going to reveal the stuff about human nature, and really going to show you about the stories and all that. And people are like, yeah, I mean, I want to see that stuff. I want to go on that adventure. I'd love to read that
Mm-hmm.
book. I would love to read the work and not necessarily, oh, this stuff happened in the story and this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this stuff happened, but like, first of all, I don't even know the work yet. So I'm not even
Yeah.
invested in the book for me to even like start caring about what happened to a character in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You get,
Yeah.
but
No.
yeah, but when you say that this is a book that, reveals what jealousy can really do and the deepest desires of man when it's not what's the word? When it's not regulated. And yeah, like yeah, I'd love to see what the book is about. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
I see what you're saying. I'm gonna. You know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna take. That's great advice. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
use that.
Yeah, I think I gave one time I gave the advice to a podcaster, not an author, and I was like, think of, let's say we're in a dinner gathering, right, with friends and well wishers, right? Not, or maybe corporates, right? But we still kind of know them. They're kind of friends, not too much stranger. And then they're like, yeah. And they're like, you, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a podcaster. Tell me about the podcast. And then you're like, oh, I'm a podcast. And before you know, everybody's like, they fall into sleep. There's really nothing interesting. And after the 5 seconds, they've forgotten, like we've all been in that situation. So yeah. So I'm not going to just be here and say, yeah, yeah. I've been there. I'm like, ah, dude, can you just hurry up to the next part so I can move on? And then there are those guys who they're like, yeah, I had this idea that the way they pitch this idea of the podcast, you feel like they are curing cancer. And same thing with the book, like, oh, like, yeah. And the way they talk about the book, the story that led to them writing the book, why they wrote the book, and how the book transformed their life. And then you just put your hand on your jaw and I'm like, I should read that book. Like, I want to really read that book because if this stuff really happened and influenced him, I wonder what will be in the book. I want to see what's in the book, right? So that's the whole idea of an elevator pitch. It's something that even after the pitch, people will still remember you and say, "Oh, you're that guy who said he wrote a book because he was bullied," something like that. I'm just making stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll still remember the
Mm-hmm.
story. I say, "Oh, what's your name again?" You're like, yeah, and then you're like, "Oh, you remember the story, but you can't even remember my name." I'm like, yeah, my name is Kristof. Yeah, yeah, Kristof. I remember you. What's the name of your book? Something has something to do with son. I think third son, son. Oh, second son. Yeah, that's the title, right? People remember stories, and as much as we want to do pitch, I mean, you're a writer. You know this, right? As much as we want to do
Mm.
pitch, right? We want to put stories into it because I would forget your name. I'll forget probably the title of the book, but the story of what led you to write the book, right? And I'm like, yeah, I want to write it. I want to read this book.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, you dropped a really strong quote, and I was like, I mean, if we start with this quote, we might not even discuss any of that thing. And then there's justice and redemption at full. How did you say the word? Help me out.
Folly.
Spell it. Is it
F O.
Folly?
Yep.
Okay, okay. I thought it was Foolery, the other one. Okay, justice and redemption are folly, but not to chase them
But to seek
is
them is not.
okay. Wait. Can you just say it so that I would have the exact words in my head?
Justice and redemption are folly, but to seek them is not.
Okay. Can you in this situation, I would want to sound like a police officer and say, "Explain yourself, young man." What do you mean?
Well, justice and redemption are uh the same on the same coin, right? You have uh you hope to achieve justice, but at the same token, the perpetrator or whatever, they want redemption. They hope to seek redemption. Uh, the notion that, but the problem is that these notions are folly. Like, there is no such thing as true justice, and there's no such thing as true redemption. Um, but that doesn't mean that you should give up the chase. You should give it up. Like, the notion that you can find redemption, the notion that you can achieve justice, uh, shouldn't be forfeited because it's impossible to achieve.
Yeah. So I guess what is running through my head is the the society is not perfect for justice or redemption. But even though it's not perfect, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to get the justice and the redemption in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you even think this quote resonates with you? What's so special about the quote?
I think for me, I wrote it about authoritarianism. Uh, I originally wrote it at the end of a long paragraph that took me 4 days to write, which is quite rare for me. Um, because I'm a speedy writer. I usually write 1,000 words a day. So
Oh,
for me to spend 4 days on a single paragraph is something very special. But I did, and it means a great deal to me because I think it describes our relationship with both of those concepts. But there's yeah, it really just comes down to the fact that both of these concepts are meant uh are very dearly held within us, you know? I don't know. And I think that I tried to, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. The thing about quotes, and I've noticed it because, interviewing people, is that what makes people resonate to certain quotes is because they've had lived experience. That when they hear the quote, it's an articulation of that lived experience. Yeah. So since you said, yeah, well, what is that lived experience? Could you just give us a little slice of it?
Someone very dear to me was very sick. They were very mentally ill. They had schizophrenia, and they were arrested for crimes that weren't relevant to something that they actually did. They didn't do these things. And they spent time in jail for it. Uh, and I wrote about that. I wrote a whole, like I said, I wrote a whole paragraph with, at the very end, it says that justice and redemption are folly, but to seek them is not. Because at the end, the paragraph actually begins by saying, "We contend that justice is among our senses." Uh, so we believe that justice is among, like, the things that it's among our senses. It's as natural to us as smelling something, as hearing something, but that's not true. Um, but its chance conception in nature uh, destroys our conceit when we sunder our marriage to reason for the profits of incurious vengeance. Uh, uh, it's yeah. So that person that was very dear to me when they were arrested, I wrote that. I spent the 4 days writing that paragraph about that.
Oh, oh, thank you for sharing that story, Crystal.
Mm.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing your two quotes. And I just want to clarify, out of curiosity, this second quote, is it your own quote?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I noticed you mentioned it took you 4 days to write. It took you 4 days to write. So that I was like, I need to be serious. So I need to be sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I feel enlightened having this conversation. Yeah, and I'm glad I did. Where can my listeners learn more about you and then the book, The Second Son?
Well, I have a TikTok, and I have a website, kristofmorrow.com, and that has everything.
Okay, you have a TikTok and a website called kristofmorrow.com. Okay, so that is KRISTOFMORROW.com.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you go to the website, you see all the things and the adventures that Kristof is working on, and the links will be added to the show notes and description, so you can click on any of them from wherever platform you're listening to the podcast on. Thank you so much, Kristof.
Thank you for having me. You're very kind.
Yeah, it's been a delight chatting with you.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.